I sometimes sit on my bed and I think thoughts, which is not always a pleasant experience. Not because my thoughts are bad or anything like that. It's because my thoughts are so good. It can honestly get a little bit lonely sometimes, having no one to share this experience with. But that's how it hit me. I finally realized that my thoughts deserve an audience. So I got up with nothing but sheer courage, bravery. I left my room. I closed the door. I took a few steps and then I took some more. I pulled the chair, I sat down. I opened the laptop. My fingers pressed those keys with ruthless, fearless passion. I pressed enter and it was done. I was finally a YouTuber. I have the criteria on lock. Around a week ago, I had a painful 2 days experiencing some intrusive, repetitive thoughts centered around Zulu Men. I have no idea where it started, but I realized, hold on, I'm a YouTuber now. Which meant that every experience, no matter how insignificant, could be turned into content. And now here we are, talking about Zulu Men. You would be accurate in labeling me an overthinker. My brain thoroughly spent time on voicing loudly observations, opinions, thoughts, memories, all centered around the polarizing Zulu man. I had to take a step back and confront my thoughts about their nature and how they came to be. This then triggered a thought about schemas, a concept theorized by this guy. Simply put, this theory tries to understand how knowledge is acquired and how knowledge is constructed and organized in the mind. Oh, Sikamo, what does that have to do with Zulu Men? Okay, Nanahle, patience. We're getting to that. The relevance of this is that I was curious to explore how my schema around Zulu Men developed. And the answer to my curiosity was almost too easy. Shaka Zulu. It has been more than 200 years since the formation of the Zulu nation began, as well as the prominence of the first Zulu man came to be, commonly known as Shaka Zulu, a man whose character many Zulu men seem to still find solace in identifying with. And that identity doesn't really cling on the actual character, but more so the portrayal of his character. A man whose life was franchised into books, movies, and a bite-sized ideology of Zulu manhood. His portrayal has since modeled the desirable characteristics of a Zulu man's masculinity for generations. A man with great prowess, assertiveness, leadership, courage, heroism, and an unyielding and unwavering demand for respect. But I've learned never to underestimate how easily an idea can change. My childhood in the Val offered little to no exposure to Zulu people in general. Though I'm sure I did meet and interact with a few, it was not nearly memorable enough for an idea or an opinion to be formed about them until I came across the classic South African comedy Emzini Wezinsizwa. The show actually stopped airing in 2004, but luckily because of SABC 1 and their reruns, for sure, I was able to enjoy it as a little girl, and I was addicted to the show, which is a bit of an anomaly as I really didn't understand Zulu, Xhosa, anything really other than English. Yeah. My reason for referencing this show is that it introduced a different portrayal of Zulu men that differs greatly from the Shaka Zulu fantasy.
Mina ngizwe egazini mina ukuthi isigulu sami sidinga umuntu ongakanani bese ngisifake la.
Awu, umeja negazi.
Hayibo. Angishongo ukuthi mina ngikala ngegazi, ngithe ngizwa.
Hayi, wake walibonaphi wena ligazi linemandla?
I know that the show featured a lot of different languages and different ethnicities, but it had a very heavy Zulu presence. The show was about a bunch of middle-aged men living in a hostel and the shenanigans they got up to. The reason that the show was so pivotal in building my schema around Zulu men is that these men were not particularly rich, handsome, athletic. They weren't leaders or really anything that aligned with the Shaka Zulu fantasy of manhood. The show didn't focus on portraying an ideal man. It focused on portraying a real man, the type of man you're most likely to encounter in everyday South African life. It featured con men, hustlers, charismatic men, traditional men, banna bagatang basadi. It just colored in the picture of the South African uncle. It highlighted the importance of finances, relationships, and camaraderie among men.
Kodwa ke lapha akuhlali ingane zesikole semzini wena izokuhlala amadoda yabona grinya kuphuza utshwala hayi sinkwa nesoka.
And how this camaraderie is often achieved through the use of alcohol. But the Zulu man is not a singularity. He is an infamous leader.
My laughing's not hurtful, it's healthy. Thank you very much for that.
He is a North taxi driver who interrupts your frantic question of where to find your next taxi by saying, Yebo, now is our bonus. A polygamy enthusiast who lacks that same enthusiasm as far as women partaking in the lifestyle that he feels worthy of enjoying.
Let him speak. Why?
I sold an idea when I initiated this kind of a lifestyle, that I want women to get married to me. I never sold an idea that I want women to get married to me and then they have other husbands.
He's a supportive parent. He's a preacher. He's a singer. He is a bap and putu connoisseur. He is a persistent catcaller. He's a type of man whose ideal wife doesn't frequent the places that he does. He's an alcoholic, a storyteller, a friendly security guard, a humble dreamer.
Ooh, Vuyo is such a big dreamer.
A CEO, a successful rapper, a cigarette addict. He's a modern boy who doesn't speak a lick of Zulu. A man so damn charismatic and funny, you almost want to erase his faults.
Tuku! Ya wena, ya lindiwe. No, hamba uswaba isiqhumama. Zero nje abambalwa. Ayikho into etheni. Kanti ke lindiwe ke nje yabona uma uzizwa nje man uyazizwa uyayifila, uyayibreathe lindiwe, uyayiuza. Isilungu leso man.
A man who finds it unacceptable, almost insulting, when there's no meat on his plate. He is a really good friend. He's a vocal homophobe. He's your friend's deadbeat dad, your sister's abusive boyfriend. He is optimistic and believes in love at first sight.
Sabona Simomonde.
Dumela.
Bengisacela nje ukukhuluma nawe.
Sorabi kanje ba Roma?
Untandana.
Ntandane. Mamela Ntandane. Hona le customer tse patalang ka mo morao wa hao. Nka rata go wena le mongo wa o monate o strong. Ha le ka suthela le side thing khona o thusa ba batlang go reka.
Oh, okay.
But this is not a depiction of a real man. This is a man I've made up in my own mind. Do you know him? At the age of 11, my somewhat blissful ignorance about Zulu men was cut in half, as this is when I moved to KwaZulu-Natal, and my schema around Zulu men was given a big helping. Here is where, for the first time, I encountered a boy ask for my surname before he asked for my number. Where in high school, Zulu boys used to text me on BBM. in Zulu, and I was enamored. Living in a whitewashed world, their iron-willed approach to preserving their language was nothing less than inspiring. As a girl who is culturally ambiguous, I was attracted to their dedication to their culture, how they knew Ditakazolo Tabona as if it was scripture. And though my perception of Zulu men, and really men in general, is not that great, the depiction that I have of Zulu men is informed by pieces of a puzzle which I've encountered as I grew up in their world, learned their language, and ultimately fell head over heels for one of their own. Bro, what's going on? Bro, I think she's singing. Just clap, just clap. Woo! Russian beer, vodka shots, got me salivating, out here marinating the meat, hoping you would call, so I can feed the boy. Yeah, I've become a boss, still I entertain a ghost. You eye me up and down, head to toe, and all you say is and I'm taken, yeah, I'm sold, my woody, yeah, yeah, I'm yours. Okay. How many girls have come and gone? How many continue to fall? Trying to keep up with the appetite of a Zulu boy. A Zulu boy, yeah. How many girls have come and gone? How many continue to fall? Trying to keep up with the appetite of a Zulu boy. A Zulu boy. A Zulu boy, yeah. Oh shit, okay. That's my girl! Being average and flaunting it, wow. So brave. So inspiring. Anywho, since the unraveling of that entanglement, I've noticed a pattern of subtle excitement around the idea of Zulu men. I theorized that my pubescent years spent in KZN conditioned my attraction to the idea of Zulu men. And with it comes this fantasy that even though I am an outspoken woman who performs femininity in a way that opposes the traditional ideals of womanhood in Zulu culture, that I will one day meet a Zulu man who sweeps me off my feet. This man with undeniable prowess, and I will somehow find myself submitting to his reign, and I will bear his children and build a home for him. He will hold me at night, and I'll feel his unkempt beard tickle my cheek, and his mkaba will keep me warm, and he'll sing Maskandi songs to me on Valentine's Day. And I'll never have to work a day in my life, knowing that I am well taken care of, protected. And even though he might engage in infidelity, I will find comfort in knowing that he chose me first, that I am the first wife. There is something comforting about the idea of living as a Zulu man's wife, completely and wholly in servitude of him. But that is just a very, very, very detailed fantasy from a person with an overactive imagination and too much time on their hands. But isn't it cute though? Luckily, hopefully, and surely, the Zulu man is not a singularity. And the best thing about thoughts and ideas and opinions, schemas, is that just like matter, they aren't afraid of change. And really, I just really wanted to talk about Zulu Men. There's no real point to this. I just really wanted to rid myself of these pesty thoughts and ensure that when I die, they won't be rotting in my brain. And it's good to have an outlet. But journaling takes too much effort and time, and therapy takes too much money. So you get the point. Lastly, to all my Zulu kings out there, keep shining, keep thriving. We see you. The ones that deserve to be seen. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. Good night.